Frank Lloyd Wright was born in June 1867 in Richland, Wisconsin. His mother decided he should become an architect when he was still very young. She hung pictures of famous European cathedrals in his room and bought him the free will system of educational toys. Wright spent part of his youth working on his uncle's farm in Wisconsin. He attended the University of Wisconsin for only about a year. His first venture into architecture was when he assisted with the design of a chapel being built by the architect J.L. Silsby for Wright's uncle, who was a preacher. In 1887, with $7 in his pocket, Wright set out for Chicago to seek his fortune. He immediately found a job with Silsby and soon afterward moved on to the firm of Louis Sullivan and Denmark Edler, prominent Chicago architects known for their designs for some of the country's first skyscrapers. Wright soon became the head draftsman for the firm. He was primarily responsible for the firm's domestic designs, and beginning in 1889, he designed a home for his family and later a studio for his private architectural practice in Oak Park, Illinois. It is in this studio where most of his famous Priory House was designed, including the Darwin Mountain Complex in Buffalo, New York. During the years 1909 to 1910, Frank Lloyd Wright spent most of his time in Europe. There, he published a large collection of his work called the Westmouth Portfolio. Upon his return to the United States, Wright lived a home he had designed for himself in Spring Green, Wisconsin, which he named Taliesin. From 1916 to 1922, Wright spent large amounts of time in Japan working on the famous Imperial Hotel. Because of its unique free-floating foundation, this hotel was one of the few buildings that survived a huge Tokyo earthquake in 1923, confirming Wright's reputation as a highly regarded international architect.
Frank Lloyd Wright believed in designing structures that harmony with humanity and environment. He said that there should be as many styles of houses as there are kinds of people and as many differentiations as there are different individuals. His work have a uniquely individual style and there are no two homes or buildings that look alike. Wright said that a building should appear to grow easily from its site and be shaped to harmonize with its surroundings if nature is manifest there. Buildings in the middle western part of the United States are vastly different in nature, style, and material than the buildings in Arizona, Los Angeles, and Pennsylvania. Wright also said that the motto of art is architecture. Without an architecture of our own, we have no soul of our own civilizations. Homes need to be more fluid, more open, more livable, and less restrained. His architecture both documented a time in history and yet managed to push the envelope with his modern philosophical approach to the future of building. He also mentions that the good building is the one that hurts the landscape, but one which makes the landscape more beautiful than it was before the building was built. He believed that a well-built building complemented its environment and surrounding.
Architectural record in August 1914, he wrote that the ideal of an organic architecture is a sentient, rational building that will owe its style to the integrity with which it was individually fashioned to serve its particular purpose, a thinking as well as feeling process. In this article, Wright continued to try, not always with much success, to explain what organic architecture was and was not to him. His building spoke more than his writings. He wanted organic architecture to be more than his own work, more than his own style. He wanted to generate a philosophy of building that could inspire and guide architects and laymen long into the future. Below are some of the principles of Wright's organic architecture. First is building and site. The two have a very special relationship in organic architecture. The site should be enhanced by the building, and the building derives it from partially from the nature of the site. Second is material. The way a building comes together, how one material joins another, the very form of the building should be an expression of the nature of the material used. In organic architecture, only a few materials are used, both inside and outside. Third is shelter. A building should convey a sense of shelter, refuge, or protection against the element. Its inhabitants should never lack privacy or feel exposed and unprotected. Next is space. Space gives the eye and mind something delightful and sometimes something mysterious to enjoy. Next is proportion and scale. The human body should be the measure of a building and its furnishing. Wright spoke of the integral harmony of proportion to the human figure, to have all details so designed as to make the human relationship to architecture not only convenient but charming. Next is nature. Nature is an architect's goal. Organic architecture does not imitate nature but is concerned with natural materials, the site, and the people who will occupy the buildings. Next is grammar. Each building has its own grammar, its distinct vocabulary of pattern and form. All parts of the building, from the smallest detail to the overall form, thus speak the same language. Human values. All values are human values or else not valuable, said Wright. Human use and comfort should have intimate possession of every interior, should be felt in every exterior. Last is simplicity. Organic architecture is simple because its scheme and design are clear. Simplicity is an art, is a synthetic positive quality in which we may see evidence of mind, breadth of scheme, wealth of details, and vital a sense of completeness found in a tree or flower.
As for the ideology of LLoyd Wright, he had worked with several architects like J. Lyman Silsby, Louis Sullivan, and Dagmar Adler. However, Wright only acknowledged Sullivan as the only architect that influenced him. He took the concept of architectural honesty as form follows functions, which resembles honesty of expression, which is the essential precondition to the creation of beautiful buildings. He attempted to create new architecture that reflected American democratic experience based solely on America's democratic values. He believed in native materials and insisted that buildings grow naturally from their surroundings. This can be seen in his works, such as the earth-hugging Priory House and the cantilevers of falling water. He also believed that the closer man associated himself with nature, the greater his personal spiritual and even physical well-being grew and expanded as a direct result of association.
Hello and good day everyone. Now I will talk about Modernism movement. Okay, before I start a bit deeper, I kindly want to tell you all that if you don't understand what I'm going to say, take a look at the subtitle below. Thank you. Now for the introduction. This modernism movement emerged in early 20th century and it encompasses in many styles such as futurism, constructivism, the stars, Bauhaus and Art Nouveau. What to look in modernist building? There are 5 features that you all can take a look, which is the first one is cubist or rectangular. Second, using reinforced concrete. Third, large window. Fourth, open plan. Fifth, minimal. Why does LLoyd Wright is in modernism movement? Okay, I will give you 2 examples. For the first one, in the late 80s to 1915, with reference to Japanese and Art Nouveau style, FLW designed a house mostly in USA which called a P house style. See at the subtitle below. And the second one, in 1923, after FLW set home in Los Angeles, he designed a neo-Mayan building. What is neo-Mayan building? It has a patterned concrete block which resembles the pattern of Mayan ornamentation, and it iconic to pre-Columbian Mesoamerican cultures. This movement of the building is a Mayan revival and it one of the Modernism movement.
LLoyd Wright Foundation established by himself in 1940, and this foundation commit to the preservation of its two national historic landmarks, which are Telluride West and Telluride, which near to the Spring Green. Let's talk about the purpose of this foundation. So, the main purpose is to maintain and promote Wright's legacy through museum partnerships, educational, lecture, events, and numerous other activities. After that, this foundation also owns and manages the intellectual property for all of Frank Lloyd Wright's designs, drawings, and other ephemera from his prolific 70 years career. So, let me talk about the important part of this foundation, or the mission of this foundation. The mission of this foundation is to preserve Telluride and Telluride West for future generations and inspiring society through an understanding and experience of Frank Lloyd Wright's ideas, architecture, and design.
Comparison between Le Corbusier and Frank Lloyd Wright. The convention of two modern architecture as antagonists. First, Frank Lloyd Wright, a follower of Wright, have denounced almost the entire corpus of 20th century European architecture as a degenerated misapplication of the principle of organic design. For the Le Corbusier, the follower Le Corbusier, usually associating him closely with the international style that have dismissed Wright's works after 1910 as eccentricity of alone mad genius of either Frank Lloyd Wright and Le Corbusier as ideologies. Example for Frank Lloyd Wright: a falling water. The horizontally spreading streets seem to be laid out independently of supporting stove-come system. Window system bend around between the trays. For the Le Corbusier example, Villa Sauve 4 system, the regular grid of the structure column or politis, along with the associated beam and framing members, is visible penetrating the second floor behind the opening is facade. 4 facades are almost identical. Steel frame window, rising service gate, curved stair that penetrating ground through both second floor and roof.
After our discussion on Frank Lloyd Wright, we found that human value, space, and nature is needed in designing buildings. There are some reasons why. First, if we use the building, there must be a sense of meaningful and appropriate for them to resemble human value. Next, space is needed because space can change our feelings toward it through one space to another. Lastly, a good building is a building that interacts with nature, because with nature we will be comfortable because nature itself shows comfort. So we hope that new generation of architects will use this Frank Lloyd Wright principle of design as their example to design a building.